Today we are going to be talking about a hypergamous dating coach who teaches females how to be able to find themselves a high value man as she did. Her whole channel is all about teaching femininity, what not to do and to do when it comes to finding a provider, as they like to say. And that is what her whole channel is based off. But suddenly the man that she met is a monster, a complete nightmare. But first, we are going to look at what her message was and what she promoted and marketed when it came to finding a high value man.
Alright ladies, let's talk about 5 signs you're dating a dusty. So first sign is he has asked you to borrow money. Now, this is a sure sign that your man is a dusty. Real men would never stoop so low to ask a woman for money. Second sign, he may not have asked you for money, but he depends on you financially. So if you all live together, then he depends on you to help pay part of the bills. As in, he depends on you to help pay part of the rent. He depends on you to help pay part of the car note, part of the car insurance, or any other necessities. Third sign is he's super fine. Now ladies, most men that are super fine are dusties. And the reason why this is because men that naturally look good, as in they have good height, they have a very nice face, nice body, these men don't feel the need to work as hard in their career and becoming successful because they naturally can attract women based off how they look. We have a great balance. He's not too old, but he's also not too young. He's the perfect age for me to be able to lead, and he's someone that I can respect. He has accomplished things in his life, and he is truly a high value man.
All right, ladies, so one thing that I've learned from Shira 7 of all the years I've watched her, the most important thing is emotional control. If you can't control your emotions, you can't control your man. And being able to control your man is how you get what you want. Hey ladies, so I want to talk about looking like money to attract money. So when you go out, you need to try to look as expensive as possible. Now, what may happen is that you may start getting approached less, but this is a good thing because only men that can afford you are going to start to approach you. You'll start getting less quantity and more quality men that are coming up to you. And a lot of time, provider men will flirt by giving you their business card. So if that's ever happened to you, it's not because he was trying to get some business. It's because he was trying to get...
After your date, I've had times, or after a first date, a man was asking me to be their girlfriend and be in a relationship. Just because he spent $300 on dinner, just because he showed up in a Maserati or whatever. You can tell a lot by a woman's hands. If her hands are unkept, she probably doesn't have her life together.
So she also wrote a handbook called Hypergamous Dating Handbook, where she guides females on how you can be able to date providers, aka rich men. Where to meet him, dating profile, being approachable, the conversation, first date, feminine seduction, feminine energy, all the insides of what she saw, how a female could be able to attract a high value man. We're also going to take a look at how she was able to meet her husband and what really pushed her to start this whole trophy wife, as that's what she called herself. She saw herself as a trophy wife based off the man that she was with. So you really need to understand that her whole entire image was based off who this man is to her and how other females can be able to get this same man that she was able to marry. Even as a single mom, as she knew that would appeal to a lot of females who were in the exact same position as she was.
Hey ladies, welcome back to the new trophy wife. Today I'm going to be sharing my story with you guys about how I went from being a single mom to a spoiled housewife in less than 1 year. And you can too. So I had my first child when I was 17 years old. I intentionally got pregnant with my boyfriend at the time and basically turned into a child raising a child. A few years later, had my second child. So after having 2 children and being a single mom, I think that my self-esteem was definitely low. I didn't know that at the time, but if I think back about the kind of men that I was choosing, it definitely was a reflection of my lower self-esteem. I think that growing up, I was not taught the kind of men that I should be looking to attract and be in a relationship with. My mom drilled into me, oh, go with the man that's going to be the best breeder. And I think society drilled into me to go after the thug, the street dude, the swag type dude, or whatever you want to call it. But neither one of those was the best approach to going about dating and attracting a husband. 24-year-old woman was good. I thought I was doing good. I had my own place, I owned my car, I was very self-sufficient. All about the mindset of, oh, I can do it by myself, I don't need a man, as so many of us modern women say. You know, one Christmas of it just being me and my 2 boys, that I wanted a family. I wanted more for myself. It felt so lonely and it was sad. It was really sad. And it was, I'd say, one of the lowest points in my life. And I realized that I don't want to do this on my own. I don't want to raise these boys on my own. I want a family. I want someone that I can love, someone that loves me and my children. I happened to come across Shira7 on YouTube, and she completely changed my life. And she basically taught me what a high value man is and what to look for when trying to find a husband. So I ended up signing up for eHarmony. I created a profile, and I think the second person that I matched with was the man that I'm married to now, my husband, my husband. And just from our first date, it just felt natural. I felt like I just had known this person already. It was so comfortable. So we went to a really nice seafood restaurant and it was great. It was an amazing first date. He ended up asking me to be his girlfriend on the first date, and I said I would think about it. I know that the universe guru talks about how you shouldn't fall into the girlfriend trap, and it was kind of something that I just intuitively knew, like, I'm not just gonna agree to be your girlfriend just after meeting you, because I know that you just want me to be your girlfriend so that you can get in my pants. So I didn't agree, and we both were, we were talking, but then for some reason we kind of stopped talking for a little while. And we both were dating other people and doing our own thing. And then I had gotten into
serious relationship with somebody, and I ended up falling for the girlfriend trap. But so after me and him broke up, we were living together, and I just like packed all my stuff and left. And it was crazy because the next day my now husband, reached out to me and was like, hey, how are you doing? And I told him, I just got out of a relationship, and I kind of told him a little bit about why. And he was telling me like, oh, those are my boys. And he had genuinely really connected with my kids, and he was not the kind of man that would just be nice to them to get to me. Like, it was very genuine, and that was one of the things that I really loved about him. That was something that stood out about him versus the other men that I had dated, was he really embraced the fact that I had children because he wanted children. And so he was talking, my lease was going to be ending very soon, which is why I went ahead and moved in with my person that had became my ex. We started living together, and I told my husband, I was like, hey, I know it's so embarrassing to admit, but I was like, I need a place to stay because my lease is ending, and I just broke up with my boyfriend, and maybe even if it's just like for a couple weeks, it's okay. Just while I look for, somewhere else, because I had planned on needing to find somewhere else. And he was saying, well, if you're going to live with me, it's going to be as my wife, not as my girlfriend. And I was like, well, how spontaneous are you? And he laughed and he said, very spontaneous. So then I was like, right. So we started entertaining the idea of getting married, like immediately. And I, didn't want to get my hopes up. So I just said that, he's saying all these things, but I'm going to see what action that he takes. And so I had just got paid, and I was like, okay, seems like we're really talking about seriously entertaining the idea of getting married. So I'm going to go and get the wedding ring. We were talking about getting married like the next week. Then after that, I think it was like the next day, somebody told me to go online and check my eHarmony profile. So I went on there and I saw that he had updated his picture, and I was like, oh no, this dude is playing around. Like, I'm glad I didn't spend a whole bunch of money on this ring. Like, he was just playing. And I screenshotted it and sent him a picture, and I said, it doesn't seem like we're on the same page, so yeah, I'm done with this. And he texted me, he was like, or I think he tried to call me and I didn't answer. And he texted me and he was like, no, I'm serious. I am going to marry you, in caps. And I think that evening he like ended up going and buying my ring. Yeah, he went and bought my ring. And we had a really beautiful wedding reception in DC at a really nice restaurant. It was gorgeous. So yeah, that is how I ended up getting married. But I think
there was a lot that she said, but I think every single part was very important. It was a long video, so I had to do a lot of chopping, but I left a few parts for people to understand that. Firstly, her mentor was Shira 7. Then afterwards, she essentially got into a relationship that didn't last, became technically homeless, and needed somewhere to live with the man who essentially said, if you're going to live with me, you need to be my wife. And that's how this relationship started. Marriage, more like. So what I'm trying to say is, she barely knew this guy, but jumped into the first proposal that was made to her. What made this man a monster after speaking so highly of him, as that whole marriage was really the backbone of her confidence? As a lot of these females always feel as if they've made it when they found what they desired to be, a rich man that is providing the lifestyle that they wanted. What made this man a monster? We are going to listen to the story of how essentially her marriage ended after everything, after the TikTok videos, after the YouTube, after the marriage in less than a year, in a week, and being a dating coach and creating handbooks to guide other females to follow her footsteps. What happened?
It's like I built this channel and this whole brand around being this man's wife and trying to teach other women how to attract good men and provider men and all these different things. And I truly held my husband, or saw him, as the bar for what every woman should, type of man that, or type of husband that every woman should aspire to have. And I didn't realize that the person I married was actually going to be my biggest nightmare. I think shortly after we got married, and this is something that I haven't talked about, I started noticing like certain things changed with him. And I just started to see a few things that I didn't like, but I honestly thought that some of these were things that I could get past. It's like sad to even say like I could get past some of these things. 6 weeks ago, I was changing my daughter, my 4-year-old daughter, and I noticed that when I changed her, she was red and very sensitive. And immediately, so I asked her, I said, "Baby, did somebody touch you?" And she ended up saying it was Daddy. My husband wasn't home at the time when she told me, but I knew he would be coming home soon, so all I could do was just say, "Don't tell him that you told me." And I just instantly started trying to think of how I could get my kids out of the house, because I knew if I confronted him or asked him about it, that he would just lie, and that he would probably just continue to keep doing stuff to her, but just become more covert or more sneaky or whatever. As soon as my husband got home, he was actually picking up the boys from school, my 2 older boys from school. As soon as he got home, I told him that I was gonna go Halloween shopping with my sister, because I just needed an excuse to get out of the house with all the kids. And I knew if I said something like, "Oh, I'm going to the grocery store," that it would be suspicious. Like, why am I bringing all the kids? And like, when I got to the hospital, they basically told me that we had to go to another hospital because they didn't do physical exams, like that kind of physical exam there. So a police officer escorted
the kids and I to another hospital where they were able to evaluate my daughters. It ended up coming out that he had actually been touching both of my daughters, who are only 2 and 4 years old. I myself am a product of RAPE. That's how I came to be, and was also, abused as a child by a neighbor's husband. I specifically prayed to God that my children would never, ever, ever have to go through this. So I don't know what the future of this channel is gonna be. I don't know if I'm gonna change the name or what. Yeah.
The dating hypergamist coach goes by the name Isis. She's very well known on TikTok and YouTube and has built a following based off her marriage, and is a single mom all over again, from what it looks like. A lot of females have this really, and I wouldn't even call it a desire, at this point is a desperation to find a high value man that they all just can't have. And another thing that also stood out to me was how she said society made her want certain men that were no good, that were thugs, really good looking, when in actuality it was just her type. And this is what happens when females don't take accountability of the toxic traits that they find in a man, which they are attracted to. This is what happens when females think that they can just cut corners instead of actually taking accountability for the mistakes that you made. The first mistake that she made was being a single mom and continuously looking for the high value man to close in the gap where she should have actually worked on. When she should have been working on herself, and whatever relationship she was in with the children's father, toxic, not toxic, that is where you were at. And a lot of females like to run away from their problems by marrying a high value man, by marrying a rich man, by living a lifestyle that they think is going to solve all of their problems. But she is a great example of how when you don't take accountability and listen to these online mentors, online coaches like Shira7, you're going to put yourself in the worst position possible and trap yourself somewhere that's not just going to harm you, but it also harmed her children. A lot of females are going to blame men for this, but they won't blame her. Females are also going to talk about how you shouldn't chase men for money. Meanwhile, they're all doing the same thing. Whether it's true accusations or false accusations, this is allegedly happened. It doesn't change the fact that this is a failed marriage. It doesn't change the fact a lot of females really believed that this is the right way. When men have been telling you what to do, what not to do this whole entire time, instead you all rather listen to toxic females. Instead you all rather listen to single moms. Instead you all rather listen to gold diggers, city girls, baddies. Instead of actually being the one thing that could actually give you a successful marriage is a woman. But females will choose to paint their own narrative and act as if this has nothing to do with her mindset, and her choices that she made since 17 years old. People will call me harsh to say this, but if we're not gonna actually talk about how to avoid these type of situations, there's no point having a conversation about it. So you can feel how you feel, but the reality is, once again, she did this to herself. And a lot of you females are going to do the same thing because none of you like to take accountability when it comes to the type of man that you want and why you want him. I'm your hostess, Feminine Princess. These are my last thoughts. To be quite frank, this is why a lot of females find themselves single today. It's because they're in denial about how bad of a choice they've made in their life. They're in denial about how delusional they are. They're in denial about the perfect man that they all chasing for. Females don't like to actually live in reality and don't like to actually face the truth about themselves. And all that happens is the same degeneracy is being perpetrated over and over again in the Black community. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye!